Welcome to today's master class on Q-scans. I am Sagar Nandi. You already have my detail. Let's continue. Disclaimer: this demonstration is for educational purposes only. I am not an investment advisor. It is not a trade recommendation. Trading involves risk. You and only you are solely responsible for the outcome of your trades. I may mention about options trading from time to time. You may refer to the characteristics and risks of standardized options document from Options Clearing Corporation to decide if option trading is suitable for you. I hope you can hear me. I will continue. If you cannot hear me, please let me know using the chat panel. In the Q master classes, we are going through all the Q systems and underlying platforms one by one. Today we are going to cover Q-scans. Q-scans are part of Q Global and also part of Q Elite. Q Elite is based on TradeStation. In Q Elite, the scans are using TradeStation's scanning feature. Q Global is based on Metastock. Q Global is using Metastock's Explorer for the scans. Some differences between Q Global and Q Elite. Most of the Q scans are available in both Q Global and Q Elite. As far as scans to look for trade setups or to look for chart patterns or chart scenarios, the scans are identical in Global and Elite. Therefore, a scan with a name, for example, Q long go with flow, will have the same result in both Q Global and Q Elite. With the same name, the scans perform the same action. A few scans may be specific to only Q Global or Q Elite. For example, scans for stocks with liquid options is only available on Q Elite because the underlying platform TradeStation provides the required detailed option data. Q Global scans operate in 100% real time because Metastock Explorers work in real time. Q Elite scans are end-of-day scans because the underlying platform TradeStation scans are working only after the bar is closed. So if we want to find trade setup or trade signal during market hours, we use Q Global. If we want to find signals at the end of the day, we may use either Q Elite or Q Global. Q Finder scans are special combo scans that helps to see technical breadth visually. That's the only way to visualize technical breadth across thousands of stocks. And then after seeing the technical breadth, you can drill down to different trade setups as well as signals. Q Finder scans are available only in Q Global. Q Finder is covered in a separate webinar. Q Sonar using radar in TradeStation is the real-time scanning facility in Q Elite. Q Sonar is covered in separate webinar as well. Today's topics will cover Qscans, underlying platform and data, market and country applicability, convention, input, if any, integration of Qscans with other Q systems, different categories of Qscans. These are the categories: scans for creating trading universe lists, scans for trade setups, and scans for patterns. And then we may combine individual scans into combo scans. We'll look at some of them. Live walkthrough and trading workflows. Q&A is throughout the session. Qscans. Qscans are not used to identify indicators crossing thresholds like in other systems. For example, RSI above a certain threshold, say above 80 or below 20. Q has no such scan. Just like Q indicators don't need you to set any parameter or compare with any threshold, Qscans don't have a way to look for indicator going above a certain threshold, because that will be subjective. Different people may set different thresholds. I wanted to avoid that. We have no such scans. Instead, Qscans look for either trade setups, looking at as many factors of the trade setups, unambiguous checklist conditions as are possible programmatically. They look for trade setups or certain actionable patterns. There are three kinds of scans. Scans for creating trading universe list. Once created, you may save the list in Q Global or Q Elite for technical first or bottom-up workflow. You may also save them in Q Vital for fundamental first workflow. So these scans are used to create your own trading universe list. It is not useful to run the scans on the entire US stock market or any other country's stock market where you are trading, because most of the stocks will be not tradable according to your own liking. You may look for only liquid stocks. Some traders may look for only growth stocks. So you may create those lists and save them first. How you may create them? You may use the Qscans that are for creating trading universe. Then the second category of Qscans are for scanning for trade setups. Usually, you do not combine these scans with other scans. They already have all the conditions, checklist conditions covered for the trade setups. Usually, you will run them individually to find trade setups. There is a Qscan for every Q trade setup. What are the Q trade setups? They are go with flow for trend following, pullback for pullback situation, headwind for reversal condition after an uptrend or downtrend, bounce for exhausting market, box for sideways market, breakout for trend line breakout. Using this, you can find trades in every market situation. And there are separate scans for bullish and bearish situations. So you will have one breakout long, one breakout short, one box long, one box short, so on and so forth. Then the third category of scans are to look for patterns or scenarios. You may use these scans to look for actionable patterns like stocks reversing from pendulum low or price extreme low. There are separate scans again for bullish and bearish situations. So if there is a scan for stocks reversing from pendulum low, there is another one for stocks reversing from pendulum high. You may combine these scans in a waterfall model. so that you can find stocks in more complex scenarios. For example, look for stocks reversing from pendulum low and activity increasing, that is stair stepping. Q scans along with other Q systems help you identify 360-degree trades where all the forces, technical, fundamental, industry, sector rotation, market forces are aligned in your favor. Underlying platform and data, Q global scans run on Metastock using its Explorer feature. They run on either online or offline data lists. I tend to prefer and use only online data lists. That eliminates the need to download data every day. Also, online lists allow real-time scans during market hours. Q Elite scans run on TradeStation using its scan feature. They run on online data lists. TradeStation has inbuilt online data lists. Though the scans run on online lists, they are only end of day scans. So you don't have to create lists, offline lists, or manage them on your hard disk. The lists are online, however, the scans are only end of day scans. You could use default data lists of the underlying platforms as data source. TradeStation and Metastock both comes with default data lists, usually broad and large data lists. You may use them. However, Q traders tend to use their own trading universe lists. We all trade a little bit differently. For example, what exactly is liquid stocks may be different for different people. Some people may like to trade stocks with only minimum of 500,000 stocks traded per day. Some may lower that number from 500,000 to say 200,000. It may depend on the trader style. It may also depend on how large one's account is, how many stocks one is buying at a time. So we all have our own preferences, trading styles, and we may create our lists based on that trading universe and not use the default data source, because most of the stocks in default data source are not tradable anyway. They are not liquid or doesn't meet our trading style. The trading universe lists can be created using Q systems. They are created based on liquidity of stocks or options and also created based on price range. Price range is important. Many people avoid trading low price stocks because they tend to be speculative, doesn't follow any pattern. So many traders tend to avoid trading low price stocks. Generally, I'm one of them. Again, what is low price stocks may vary from person to person. Some person may decide that she will not trade any stock below $10. Someone may decide I'll not trade below $5. So again, we can create the trading universe lists based on price range and liquidity according to our own trading need. These are broad lists. Because they are broad, you don't need to change them often. Once a month or even a quarter is usually sufficient. This is my preferred way of creating trading universe lists using Q scans. Universe lists can also be created based on fundamentals or seasonality. Use QVital to create list of fundamentally strong stocks. And once you create them either based on earnings growth, and/or revenue growth, and/or valuation, you may save those lists. Once again, you may save them in QVital If you are using fundamental first workflow, you may save them in Q Global or Q Elite if you are using technical first or bottom up workflow. So you may create lists using fundamentals as well. And if you are using seasonality a lot, you may use Q season to create lists of bullish and bearish seasonality stocks for the current or next month. And then once again, save it. Save it in Q Vital if you are using fundamental first workflow. Save it in Global or Elite if you are using technical first workflow. There are different ways, therefore, to create trading universe list, but I prefer to create them using Q scans based on liquidity and price range, save them, and the rest of the calculation on fundamental and seasonality I carry out in real time. That way, the lists are robust and I don't have to change them often. Even once a quarter is usually enough if I'm using price range and liquidity to create my lists. Country market applicability. Q global scans can be used for all countries, all markets, certainly USA market and all global markets, any country of the world, in fact, including but not limited to Australia, Japan, China, India, UK, Canada, etc. Q Elite scans are usually used only for the USA market using TradeStation's default data source, that is TradeStation. However, it can also be used for all global markets using Metastock end of day data feed. It is possible to do that, though usually traders use Q Elite only for the USA market. Under what condition one may use Q Elite for global markets scan as well? If you are primarily trading in the USA market and you use TradeStation as brokerage and you have Q Elite already, then you may not need to run scans on Q Global just to look at some stocks occasionally, maybe of UK market. Occasionally you do that, then you may use the Metastock data feed, but don't need to procure the Metastock platform. You just run the scans on Q Elite, but it will be end of day. If you are more serious active trader in global markets, you may not want to use Q Elite end of day data scans. Serious active traders will never like that. They will like real-time scans, and for which you will use Q Global. Convention. Q scans for finding trade setups are named in full capital letters. Other scans are not using full capital letters in their naming. So if we see the name has breakout in capital, full capital breakout, then we know that scan is for a trade setup. And if we see a name not in full capital, like at price extreme low and reversing, then we know it is not for a trade setup because not full capital, it is for a scenario or pattern. In fact, the same convention is used in Q Elite Sonar and Q Finder as well. Trade setups are always typed in full capital letters. Trade signals or patterns or scenarios are not in full capital letters. Inputs, just like Q indicators don't have any input, there is no input requirement for Q scans as well. You may use global or scan parameters for creating stock universe list. These parameters define how liquid stocks you want to trade. Is it 500,000 shares traded per day or 200,000 shares traded per day? Or what is the price range of stocks you want to trade? Is it 10 to $110 or anything except stocks below $5? Those numbers in terms of liquidity and price range that you may define as parameters to create the stock list. Once created, you don't need any other input anywhere else. You may use the default values that come with QGlobal QLate, or you may alter them. Once set, traders usually do not need to change them. Usually people never change them unless your trading style has changed. Maybe you have traded and your account size is getting bigger and bigger, then you may change your liquidity requirements. Maybe from 200,000 shares traded per day, you may increase it to 500,000 shares per trade. Let me rephrase it again. If your account size increases over time, then you may change your liquidity parameters. Initially, you may start with 200,000 shares traded per day at minimum. And once your account size is larger, you may change it to 500,000 shares traded per day at minimum. When do you know you have to change your parameter? You will know that when you are not getting filled at the mid price between bid and ask, and you have to raise your price to get filled. When you see that, then you know that you need to change your liquidity requirement. So you trade only more liquid stocks and get a better fill. For a smaller account, if you are not placing order for many shares at one time, then a lower liquidity requirement is enough. Usually I do not go below share. Usually I do not go below 200,000 shares traded per day. So like Q indicators, Q scans do not need any parameters. Also, you do not need to specify any threshold level for the indicators. All you need is to run the scans on the data lists of your choice. By the way, I have a lot of material to cover today also. I want to conclude the Q scans in one video. Please bear with me. I had enough time to prepare, so I put all my thoughts into the presentation. It will be worth it. Integration. QVital Smart Action button may be used to import QGlobal scan result. Scan result symbol list, which is Refinitiv instrument code, they are created by QGlobal scan result that can be imported in QVital with a single click. That is an integration between QGlobal scan and QVital. Once imported, using Smart Action button, carry out fundamental analysis using QVital. Next, link with QEdge from QVital for sector industry rotation analysis, or link with QSeason from QVital for seasonality analysis. So we may start with QScan in QGlobal for technical first, and then carry out fundamental industry sector rotation and seasonality analysis. If we are using QElite, we can also import the result of QElite scan. That will be symbol list, ticker symbol list, not Refinitiv symbol list, but ticker symbol list in QVital using Smart Action button. The scan result ticker symbol list is imported in QVital with a single click. QVital converts the ticker symbol to Refinitiv RIC codes. We don't have to manually convert them. Then you may carry out fundamental analysis in QVital. Next, link to QH for sector industry rotation analysis, or link with QSeason for seasonality analysis. Once again, starting with technical first, we may carry out the other dimensions of 360 degrees analysis using vital, age, and season. Always we end up with 360 degrees trades in that way. Scan categories. Q-scans are of 3 distinct categories. And it is useful to keep that in mind. We have many scans. The categories are useful to keep in mind, so we know which one to use when. One category is for creating trading universe lists, usually based on stock or option liquidity, price range, or stocks history. Sometimes you may want to trade stocks with at least 5 years history. Why I use that number 5 years is because in QVital, QH, QIndex, you may see fundamental data going back up to 5 years. What kind of fundamental data? Like earnings growth and revenue growth up to 5 years back. We can go back. So if you want to use the full fundamental capability of QVital Age Index, then you may want to trade stocks with at least 5 years history. Then you have a very clear idea, is the earnings growth consistent for 5 years or not? If you want to restrict it to 3 years, that is also fine. Why these numbers are important is because of an individual's trading style again. Some people like to trade box stocks as defined in HSI. These box stocks look for certain years and quarters of trading performance, earnings growth performance. So you may want to only look at stocks that have that kind of historical data. Also in IBD style, people tend to look back for a certain years of earnings performance. That is another reason you may look for stocks with certain numbers of years in history. New IPOs you may avoid. Or you may create a list for new IPOs. That is also based on stocks history. So you may create the list based on option liquidity if you are trading options. That is important so that bid-ask spread is not too wide. If you are trading options and you are generally correct in your trade direction, but the options are not liquid, then even if you are correct, let's say 60, 70, even 80% of the time, if the options are not liquid enough, you will still lose money. So for options trader, it is extra important, but even for stock traders, it is important to look for liquidity so that the bid-ask spread is not wide and you get a nice fill price around the mid price. Sometimes maybe a little bit above the mid price, but not always at the ask price for buying. So that is important. Price range is important to avoid speculative stocks, and stocks history is important if you are using box stocks or IBD style investing. If you want to avoid IPOs, then history is important when creating the trading universe lists. You may use these scans to create the lists only once a month. Actually, once a quarter is also enough. Second category is for scanning trade setups. They are usually run as individual scans. You will usually run it every day or when you are looking for new trades. Some people are not so active traders, or even if you are active trader, maybe you have a maximum number of trades you want to keep open at a time, let's say 10 or 8. If you have already reached that limit, 8 or 10 for example, then you may not want to enter new trades, and then there is no point running the scan to find trade setups. When you are ready to enter a new trade, you may run the scans, and sometimes people may run it every day. Why? To use the scan result in QFinder. I'll not cover QFinder in today's session, but sometimes you may run it every day anyway, so that you have an idea about how the technical breadth is changing from day to day. That gives you a very good idea about what is happening in the market. The technical breadth in QFinder along with QH sector industry stock advanced decline breadth along with Q global market breadth and the market ETF study, it gives you an idea about the market overall. And if you check that day after day, even if you are not taking new trades, you will be able to anticipate trades better. Unless you are using QFinder, you may run the trade setups only when you are looking for new trades. And same for scan parameters. Sorry, not parameters. The same is true for scanning for patterns. You may run them only when you are looking for new trades. Scanning for patterns is not used for QFinder, so you will not need it for finding technical breadth every day. You run the scan for patterns only when you are looking for new trades. Can be run individually to look for one pattern. For example, look for stocks where activity is increasing, that is stair stepping. Often traders combine the scans for desired more complex patterns. For example, look for stocks at pendulum low and reversing, but stretch not overbought yet. Run this to get ready for an upcoming trade based on specific patterns. Usually, traders will look for patterns, get ready, but actually execute the trade only using the Q trade setups. That is using the standard daily weekly interval. So for example, if we find some stocks that are at pendulum low and reversing up, stretch is not overbought, shall we execute the buy? If you are using daily weekly interval to enter trades, you may not. You may wait for the actual trade setup confirmation. Pendulum low, reversing, stretch not overbought does not necessarily mean there is a trade setup. We may wait for the trade setup. What is the exception? The exception can be two. One is you are entering the trade in the morning session. You are expecting a trade setup to be confirmed. For example, a breakout to be confirmed when it is at pendulum low, reversing, not overbought yet. You think it is going to complete the breakout at the close, then in the morning session, you are entering the trade in anticipation. If the trade setup is not confirmed at the close, you will close the trade at the end of the day. Under that situation, in anticipation trade, you may run the pattern scans to find stocks and actually take the trade in the morning session. What is the other situation? Other situation is you are looking for certain patterns and entering the trade not using weekly daily interval, but using intraday interval, maybe 10-minute interval or 30-minute interval. In that case, you are able to find these patterns and enter a trade, let's say using 30-minute interval. Then you will not need to wait for the trade setup, because trade setup will come only using daily interval. Those are the two situations when you may execute a trade based on the result of scan for patterns. If you are using swing trading only, position trading only, longer term investment only, usually I recommend not to take a trade based on the pattern scans only, wait for the actual trade setup. But you may keep the two exceptions in mind. The exceptions are handy if you are using intraday charts and you are not busy in an office during market hours. Now let's go through the scans for creating trading universe lists. Let's first go through the Q global scans for that. Less than 5 years history that create a list of newer IPOs. We could look for less than 2 years, less than 1 year, but less than 5 years is also fine. Just create a list of relatively newer IPOs using this scan. You may save the list. Or if you want to avoid IPOs, you may create a list greater than 5 years of history. Why I like the number 5 is because stock scorecard in Vital Age Index shows up to 5 years of EPS and revenue growth statistics. Or you may look for greater than 6 months history. Eliminates very recent IPOs, but at least 6 months of historical data is there. Then the ones more commonly used, liquid stocks, find stocks with sufficient liquidity as defined in global parameters. High price stocks, stocks above the high price level defined in global parameters. Low price stocks, stocks below the low price level defined in global parameters. Mid-price stocks, stocks between the high and low price levels defined in global parameters. As I mentioned, you set these parameters only once and usually you don't change it. Where are these global parameters in Q Global? Let's look at the platform. If we go to Tools, Indicator Builder in MetaStock, all the Q calculations are with the prefix CUE in capital. And at the very top of the list, you can see Q Global benchmark setting, market breadth setting, scan setting, and session setting. For Q Global scans, the parameters, which are global parameters, need to be set only once, have default values. They are in this Q Global scan setting. If you edit, these are the parameters, very straightforward. Optimal liquidity. What is your optimal liquidity requirement? Currently, it is set to 500,000 shares traded per day. And also the optimal price range. Currently, it is set to $5 to $105. So low price stocks will be defined as below $5, mid price 5 to 105, high price above 105. You may change these parameters up to your liking only once and keep it there. These are the only parameters and they are global parameters. Those were the scans for creating trading universe list. Let's see if there are more. There are more for Q Elite. These are the Q Elite scans for creating trading universe lists. Q stocks with high liquidity. Find stocks with high liquidity as defined in scan parameters. In Q Elite, there is no global parameter. The scan itself has parameters. You may change it there. I'll show that where to change that. And Q stocks with liquid options, that find stocks with liquid options. Not only liquidity is checked for stocks, but of options. Again, liquidity is defined in the scan parameters, not global parameters. Usually, I use the global scans, Q global scans, to create stock universe lists. I use Q Elite scans only to create liquid options stock universe list, because Only TradeStation has detailed options data. I use QElite for liquid options list. Otherwise, I use only Q Global scans for creating my stock universe lists. Let's see where in TradeStation we set the parameters. In TradeStation QElite, these are all the scans. At the bottom, you can see Q stocks with high liquidity and Q stocks with liquid options. And you may also see they have all stocks as input, whereas all the other QElite scans don't have this text, this phrase in bracket, all stocks. Why? Because all the other QElite scans don't run on all stocks, they run on your trading universe. And that trading universe is what? That trading universe is a single list called $Q list. So if I open long breakout, you can see $Q scan symbol list. That is the single list used by all the other Q scans for finding trade setups, finding patterns, except the ones for creating stock universe. Because for creating stock universe, we need to scan all stocks. That's why I wanted to mention that explicitly here. Stocks with high liquidity. What is high liquidity? If I double click on the scan, go to scan criteria, you can see here it is defined as 250,000 shares traded per day. Here and here 200,000. You may change these parameters. Usually you may keep them same. Volume average over 3 months greater than, let's change to 500,000 per day, and volume 1 day ago also, not only average but 1 day ago also 500,000 per day. And you may click OK to save it. And similarly for stocks with liquid options, how much liquidity you need for options, that is defined here. Open interest calls and puts, currently it is set to 100,000. That is fine. And here volume average 3 months, let's again change it to 500,000. So volume average is for the stock itself, open interest put and call is for the option. Click OK to save if you are making any changes like that. And these are the two QElite scans for creating trading universe lists. And these were the and that is how you change the parameters for liquidity in QElite. Let's go back to the presentation. Next is scan for trade setup. These scans are common between Q Global and QElite. Every Q trade setup has two scans associated with it. There is a bullish scan and a bearish scan. These scans are run to look for trade setups. After running a scan, you may confirm the setup using Q charts. What does it mean confirm? Confirm the trade setup by applying the associated unambiguous checklists. The scans do a fantastic job, but still you may check that visually is it meeting all the checklist conditions. The charts also help to ensure a suitable reward risk ratio trade, and that is very important for swing traders. Probably also important for position trading and long-term investing. I shouldn't say probably it is, but more important for swing trading because we go in and out of trades more often. The reward risk ratio is more important. Distance from entry to stop is to be acceptable relative to the distance between entry and initial profit target for swing trading. Q guideline is to look for at least or around 1 or more. Of course, more is better. At least or around or greater than 1 reward risk ratio for swing trades. That yields attractive annual profit percentage based on a 60% or higher success rate. So there is a mathematical requirement to be successful in swing trading. That mathematics is explained on my website sagarnandy.com. That mathematics relies on attractive reward risk ratio and attractive success rate. Just having high success rate is not enough. We need to have attractive reward risk ratio, and that can be confirmed by looking at the charts after running the Q scans. So we need to look at the charts for 2 reasons. One is to confirm the trade setup, and then to check that we have attractive reward risk ratio. These are the scans for trade setups. Bounce trade setup, long short for exhausting market. Box long and short for sideways market. Breakout long short for trend line breakouts. Go with flow long short for trend following trades for stocks in a strong uptrend. Pullback is also in an uptrend in a way, but it has pulled back more than usual for a go with flow setup. Pullback is deeper pullback. Go with flow is also catching swing low, but the pullback is not so deep. That's why go with flow is in a stronger uptrend usually than pullback. Pulling back, it is therefore also trend following, but deeper pullback. Pullback long short scans, and lastly, trend reversal headwind long short scans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, two, three, four, five, six. 6 longs and 6 shorts. On Q Global, you may use the multi-scans to find any of the Q trade setups quickly in 100% real time. For finding trade setups, you have the individual scans, and now you also have single scan Q long all setup and Q short all setup. They are a shortcut to using Q Finder. And of course, Q Finder is more powerful, multifaceted in technical breadth study, as well as for multidimensional trade setup identification using smart action buttons. Q Finder is of course much more powerful. You may use Q Finder. Sometimes instead of opening Q Finder, you may simply run Q long all setup and Q short all setup. When will you do that? You will use Q Finder when you have some time in hand, let's say 30 minutes to find trades. But on some days, maybe you are back at your computer just, let's say, 10 minutes or even 5 minutes before market close. Let's say 10 minutes before market close. You don't have time to do the multifaceted analysis, multidimensional analysis that is possible in Q Finder, and you don't need to look at technical breadth. If you want to look at technical breadth to decide your trading direction, then you always use Q Finder scans. But for a quick and dirty way, faster way, you may simply run the multi scans, long all and short all. You don't run Q Finder, you simply run the 2 scans and then look for the stocks from the output. Look at their charts to see if the setups are confirmed, if your risk ratio is attractive. There is no multi-trade setup scan in QElite because QElite is not giving real-time scans. On QElite, you may use QSonar to find any of the QTrade setups quickly. That is also in 100% real time. So we don't have multi-trade setup scan in Elite, but you may use QSonar instead because that will also find trade setups in real time. Next, the scans for parameters. QGlobal has many, sorry, not parameters. Next is QGlobal scan for patterns. You will see there are many more scans for patterns in global than in Elite. These are the scans for patterns: gap up open or gap down open, Q gap open, that is related to gap. I have categorized the scan for patterns into different categories, just like I categorized the indicators into different categories in earlier session. So activity scans are two: Q activity increasing, which is stair stepping, or Q activity unusual heavy, that is skyscraper. Then scan for train: Q closing above slow direction, closing below slow direction, closing above very slow, closing below very slow. Some traders may want to trade stocks which are above both the direction lines, only above both the direction lines, then they will take the trade in the long direction. So before running go with flow, before running pullback, you may run closing above slow direction, closing above very slow direction in a waterfall model. So you have stocks that are above both the direction lines and then use the output to run Q long, go with flow. That way you will be finding go with flow setups where the stocks are above both the direction lines, slow and very slow. Go with flow setup does not require a stock to be above slow and very slow direction lines. That is also perfectly okay. It has high success rate, but depending on your trading style, if you want only stocks to buy that are above both slow and very slow direction, then you may use the trend scans. Usually the name of the scan is enough to tell what the scan does. In Q Global, if you hover on a scan, it will give more detail about what the scan does. Usually the name is enough. Let's look at Q Global scans. These are all the Q scans. If you hover your mouse on any of the scans like gap open, long all setup, short all setup, long bounce, you can see as I am hovering my mouse on a different scan, it is giving more detail about the scan. What does it do? But usually you will not need that. The name itself is enough. Going back to the slide. Next, support resistance scans. Memory trendline resistance, that will find stocks at trendline resistance. These are support resistance scans. And we always have a bullish and a bearish scan for every category. So memory trendline resistance and also at memory trendline support. Also watermark pivot resistance, watermark pivot support. Then range scans. between upper and lower boundaries. If you are taking go with flow trades, you may trade only if the stock is inside the boundary lines. So you may run this scan to find the stocks not extended and then look for go with flow setup. In practice, you may simply run go with flow setup and then use the charts to see if they are beyond the boundary lines. Usually that is the way I use. But for example, if you are only using go with flow trend following trades, you are not taking any other kind of trades. In that case, you may combine this scan with go with flow scans. So you will use waterfall model between upper lower boundary and feed the output to go with flow long. You will probably do that only if you are using go with flow trade setup and you don't want to trade if a stock is extended. In general though, I will simply run go with flow setup. I will not use this range scan and check the range extended or not with respect to boundary lines on the chart. Similarly, there are range scans for below lower boundary or above upper boundary. When they may be handy for finding headwind trades. Once again, in practice, I may not want to use these two scans in waterfall model every day, but if somebody was only trading headwind trades, I doubt if we have traders like that, but if somebody is trading only headwind trades, then they may look for stocks below lower boundary giving headwind long setup and stocks above upper boundary giving headwind short setup. I do not do that, but I know a trader who doesn't use go with flow setup so much, but he is very contrarian, more contrarian than me. He only likes to trade stocks, buy stocks when they are below lower boundary, only then. For him, these range scans are very useful. Usually he only goes long, so he will run this scan to find stocks below lower boundary and probably look for bounce, box or headwind setup or use intraday charts to enter a trade. The more you use the different pattern scans, you will see which ones are meeting your trading style and then use them regularly. Every pattern scan may not be needed for your trading style, but over time you will probably use more and more of them. Continuing with pattern scans, momentum scans, traffic light reversal. Usually traffic light color changes from red to yellow to green or green to yellow to red, goes through yellow always. But sometimes it may have a sudden reversal from green to red or red to green. Sudden change in momentum that is caught by this scan. And if you want to check the weekly backdrop before scanning for daily pattern or trade setup, then you may use this weekly momentum scans. Weekly backdrop bearish, bullish, weekly backdrop neutral. When you may use weekly backdrop neutral, there are trade setups where we don't need bullish backdrop for a long trade. For example, headwind, we don't need that. So box also, we don't need bullish backdrop for a long trade. So not that we always need a backdrop to be bullish for long trade. So there is a scan for neutral backdrop as well. And there is one for neutral or bearish that will meet the backdrop requirement for most of the Q trade setups in the short direction, and backdrop neutral or bullish that will meet the checklist requirements for most of the Q trade setups in the long direction. So you could run this scan first and use the output in a waterfall model to run the Q long all trade setup scan, or Q long go with flow, Q long headwind, Q long bounce, etc. up to your liking. That is one way to use them in waterfall model. I usually do not use it like that. I simply run Q finder scans or Q trade setup scans and check the backdrop on the chart. That tends to be faster. When you may use these weekly backdrop scans, again, if you have only very specific trade setup in mind, maybe you are trading only go with flow setup, trend following setup, then you may run the backdrop scan first to reduce the list, and on the output run the go with flow setup. Usually for go with flow only, you will use backdrop bullish scan and feed the output to go with flow long scan. Again, I don't use it like that, but if you are only trading go with flow, then it may make sense to do that. Next is extension scans. They look for stocks that are extended. Very useful in anticipating a contrarian trend. If you watch my weekend videos or other market mid videos, I used to take it every Wednesday. I'll start taking them on Wednesdays again after the master classes are complete. If you watch those videos, you will know I am as good in shorting the top, buying the bottom, as I am with trend following, go with flow and pullback trades. And that is because I have the extension scans. I may run them from time to time, and I may also see them on market breadth on Q finder. So even if I don't run the extension scans explicitly, they are in a way present in market breadth total view, and they are also present in market ETF studies. They are certainly present in Q finder. There are individual scans too. You may sometimes run them to find extended stocks to try to buy at the lowest price or short the highest price. One is jump and thrust high, and the opposite jump and thrust low. Price not at extreme in the middle using pendulum color, then price at extreme high, pendulum high, and then price at extreme low. Then two more at price extreme high and reversing for finding short the top candidates, and at extreme low and reversing, very useful for long-term investing in my view. If you already have strong fundamental stocks in mind, you may wait for them to go to price extreme low and then starting to reverse. You may use this scan to get ready to buy them, or you could even look for stocks, fundamentally strong stocks at price extreme low and keep tracking them. Maybe they have not reversed yet, but you will probably take the long only after it has reversed. When could you take the trade? Even before it has reversed. That is, if your account size is very large, maybe like Mr. Warren Buffett. If account size is very large, you are managing a fund, you may not be able to buy when the stock is starting to go up. You may have to buy when the stock is still going down, but it may be at a support or near a support, maybe weekly watermark support, deep watermark, or weekly memory trend line support. Then you may start to look for buy setup at price extreme low. For most Q traders, that will not be the case probably, unless you are managing a fund. If we are trading for ourselves, usually we'll wait for stocks to be at price extreme low and then starting to reverse. Next is intensity scans. pressure extreme bearish, pressure extreme bullish. And then you turn bearish, you turn bullish. You may look for breakouts with extreme pressure, long breakouts or short breakouts. On short side, it is less required. Stocks may fall without heavy intensity more easily than it may go up. So for long breakouts, you may combine that with bullish extreme pressure. And if it has U-turn bullish, it is even better, sudden reversal. Again, will you run these intensity scans every day? If you are trading all kinds of Q trade setups, go with flow, pullback, bounce, box, etc. If you are open to run, if you are open to trade all the different Q trade setups for all the market conditions, you probably don't need to run these intensity scans or other pattern scans individually. But if you are focused on only, for example, breakout trades, you only trade breakouts, then you may first run the pressure extreme bullish scan and feed the input, sorry, not feed the input. You first run the pressure extreme bullish scan, feed the output to long breakout. I will do that if I am only trading a certain type of trade setup, say breakout. Breakout with extreme bullish pressure are more effective. I may quickly reduce the list by running the pressure extreme bullish scan and then run breakout on that. Next is overbought, oversold scans. Stretch not overbought, stretch not oversold, stretch overbought, stretch oversold. So if you are taking a go with flow trade, we may find stocks that are not overbought yet, and then use the output to look for go with flow setups. On the other hand, we may look for stocks where stretch is overbought and get ready for a stretch release and probably give us a box short setup. That is to anticipate a trade. These pattern scans are usually run on daily interval, but if you are a longer term investor or you are targeting to buy a stock at very low price or short a stock at very high price, you may run all of these pattern scans on weekly interval as well. Reversal scans, Q reversal, bearish, bullish, based on the reversal candle pattern. The signal that is there on Q charts, band indicator, that reversal is used to find stocks with the reversal pattern. Then stretch release bearish, stretch release bullish, and indecisions at high, indecisions at low. These are all reversal patterns that you may scan for. Then volatility scans, Q squeeze, stocks that are in a squeeze, and Q squeeze release, coming out of a Q squeeze. Now Q elite scans, TradeStation's scanning feature on which Q elite runs does not work on the daily candle before the close. That makes the scans ineffective to find patterns during the market hours. Whether patterns or trade setups, we cannot find them during market hours. And therefore, weekly scans, if we are using weekly interval, on TradeStation will use the current week's bar only after the week's close, that is after Friday's close. They are less effective to find trades in real time. Due to their lesser effectiveness, Q Elite has fewer scans than Q Global. Instead of using scans, you may use the sonar feature on Q Elite based on radar on TradeStation, which is able to find patterns and trade setups in 100% real time, even before a daily or weekly bar is closed. You may use weekly interval in QElite Sonar to find weekly signals in real time, that is to find signals during the week as well as at the end of the week. That is why Q Global has many more scans than QElite. In QElite, we use Q Sonar instead. What are the pattern scans in QElite? Some scans are available only in QElite, not in Q Global. These use either pre-market data, which is readily available in TradeStation, pre-market data, because it's a brokerage, TradeStation provides that readily, or if the pattern scan requires detailed option chain data. Again, TradeStation has that. Metastock does not have that detail to that extent yet. It may be available in future, but not there yet. So such scans are available only in TradeStation QLE. Such data is not readily available in Metastock. Therefore, such scans are not available in Q Global. These are Q pre-market movers bearish uses pre-market data, or Q pre-market movers bullish uses pre-market data. And then put call ratio unusual high or low uses detailed option data. These scans are available only in QElite because they either need detailed pre-market data or detailed option data. For the rest of the pattern scans in QElite, you will usually see there is always a corresponding match in Q Global. I'll go through the QElite scans quickly. Gap open, gapping pattern, activity scans, weekly activity increasing, stair stepping. If it is weekly, you know you will run it only at the end of the week. So if you have a workflow to look at stocks in more detail at the end of the week, then you can do every day because of time constraint. You may use these scans at that time only at the end of the week, because weekly scans are effective only after the weekly bar is closed. So this is for weekly stair stepping. Q activity increasing for daily stair stepping. Q activity unusual heavy skyscraper. Trend scans, there is no QElite scan for identifying trends like above slow or very slow direction lines. You use Q Sonar instead. Sonar is in 100% real time. Scans would not be. Support resistance scans in QElite. Weekly memory trendline resistance, weekly memory trendline support. Again, you will run them only at the end of the week. Otherwise, it will not identify support resistance for the current week. Range scans, there is no QElite scan for range. Use Q Sonar instead. Momentum scans, Q traffic light reversal. Extension category scans, price at extreme high, at extreme low, extreme high and reversing, extreme low and reversing, not SI and reversing. Intensity scans, pressure extreme bearish, pressure extreme bullish, U-turn bearish, U-turn bullish. Overbought, oversold scans, no QElite scans for this category. Use Q Sonar instead. Reversal scans, reversal bearish, reversal bullish, weekly headwind bearish, weekly headwind bullish. Volatility scans, Q squeeze release. Next is combo scan. But before going to combo scan, I wanted to mention one thing. In Q Global, there is no separate scan for weekly interval in Q Global. Why? Because if we look at Q Global scans, you choose the interval from a separate drop down. So every scan that is available in Q Global, all these scans, you may choose the interval using the drop down. You don't need a separate weekly and daily interval scan. That is one reason why you don't have any weekly scan as such in Q Global, because Q Global scans don't have inherent interval. You choose the interval from the drop down. Whereas in Q Elite, the scans have interval inbuilt. So weekly headwind bearish is looking at weekly bars. And if no periodicity is mentioned, no interval is mentioned, then you know long breakout, for example, or pressure extreme bearish, they are looking at daily bars. Once again, trade station scans will look at data only after the bar is closed. So you are not able to find trade setups in real time. Q Global scans can do that. Next, combo scans. Combo scans, that is running multiple scans together, where the output of one is fed as the input of the next scan in a waterfall model, is easily achieved in Metastock, not so in TradeStation. That is why I usually use this combo scanning technique only on Q Global, not on Q Elite. You may use Q Elite Sonar to achieve the same objective to a large extent. Q Elite Sonar works beautifully in real time, 100% real time. It has some restriction regarding how large a stock list can be used. TradeStation Radar does not allow us to put, for example, 2000 stocks in Radar. So that is one limitation, but otherwise you can use Sonar to achieve much of the objective that you can do in Q Global using combo scans. Of course, Q Global does it much better, this waterfall model. So I use combo scans always only on Q Global. If you don't have Q Global, you only have Q Elite, then you may use Q Elite. Sonar does a pretty good job in real time. Different traders may use different combinations of the Q Global pattern scans to create different combo scans. When creating combo scans, and this is important, run the least restrictive ones first, so that you may view the result at the deepest level. If there is no result at the deepest level, move up to one level at a time to see the result at those levels. This example will clarify it. It's not a scan I will probably use in real time. I am using it to explain why you run the least restrictive scans first in a combo scan. Let's say we have a combo scan where output of first is fed to the input of next. We have a combo scan with this structure. First, find mid-price stocks. Therefore, we may be running it on all US stocks. Find mid-price stocks first, then find extreme bullish pressure, and then look for long breakout. We want to run it in this order, the least restrictive first, which is mid-price stocks. Why so? Because if we didn't have any breakout at the deepest level, there is no stock in the output, we may then move up one level to see that at least do we have extreme bullish pressure. If none, then we may move up to mid-price stocks. Again, in real life, I will not use this scan. This is just an example of combo scan explaining why least restrictive ones are better to be run first. If you are interested only in the output of the deepest level, then it is not important. But if you are interested to see if there is any result at the upper levels, if the lowest level doesn't have any output, then you run the least restrictive ones first. And anyway, it doesn't take much time to order them. So I always order them when running combo scans to keep the restrictive ones first. If you are running combo scans on different intervals, run them one at a time, because the interval selection is separate from the scan selection. In QGlobal, you run them one at a time. Here is an example. At weekly trendline support and breaking trendline resistance in daily. This is one of my favorite combo scans. Everybody over time develops some favorite combo scans. This is one of my favorites. At weekly trendline support and breaking daily trendline resistance. Very robust trade setups. Because they have different intervals, run memory trendline support on weekly first. Run this on your usual trading universe. We already created the trading universe using scans. We saved them and run this weekly trendline support scan. After that, run the long breakout on daily on the result of the weekly scan. So if we are running combos on different intervals, we run them one at a time, not using waterfall model. Let's go back to Metastock platform to see what I mean. We are looking for stocks at weekly trendline support. So we have this scan memory trendline support and we choose the interval weekly. But the breakout I want in daily interval. So I cannot combine the weekly trendline support and daily trendline breakout in the same combo scan in one run. I have to run key memory trendline support on weekly first, and you can see the selected scans come here, only one. I run it on my stock universe, let's say high price stock, mid price stocks. These are liquid stocks, avoiding low price stocks because they are speculative. Once I run this scan, it will create an output. And in Metastock, the output of the last scan is always available in this result, last exploration result. So once you run the weekly scan, you reset everything from the top, reset all scans, and then find long breakout, choose that. You can click the checkbox or use the space bar to check and uncheck a scan. And for this long breakout now, I will again go to the top, use the space bar to uncheck everything, go to the bottom, just choose last exploration result. So if I am using the last exploration result, I don't need to save it in a list. It's already there in Metastock. Use that to create list of stocks that are breaking out in daily. And I'll change the interval to daily and run it. That way I'll have at weekly trendline support breaking from daily trendline resistance. If you are running combo scans on multiple intervals, you run them one at a time. But if you are running them on the same interval, let's say at price extreme low and reversing, then breaking out, long breakout, and let's also add bullish pressure, pressure extreme bullish. Then instead of use the selected instruments for all explorations, choose this option, use the results from preceding exploration. And I have these 3 scans selected now. It's always a good idea to check how many scans you have selected. Sometimes by mistake, some other checkbox may be switched on. So it's always a good practice to check here first. You have selected only the ones you wanted or not. Then choose your data. Again, always a good practice to go to the top, press the space bar to deselect everything, and then choose the list you want. If you are always using only high mid-price stocks, only trading in the USA market, you will choose the list once and not change it unless you are using public online, unless you are using the last expiration result. If you are always using the high mid-price stocks or liquid stocks, you will not change it. But I trade in multiple markets. Sometimes I look for optionable stocks, liquid optionable stocks. So my lists change from time to time. So I always go to the top to deselect it and then select only what I want. That way I don't have wrong selection, either in the scan, which I check from here, the ones here, and the universe that I check from the number of stocks selected at the top level. That gives me an idea, did I select something additional to what I intended? Then last step is what I mentioned earlier, choose the least restrictive first. So we may choose at price extreme low and reversing fast. That's my logical thinking. First look for stocks at very low price, then look for breakout, and then look for extreme pressure. So the output will have stocks meeting all the criteria. So I may look at those with extreme pressure breakout. If I don't find anything, then I will go back to one level up to look for breakouts that may not have extreme pressure. To illustrate this, let me run this while I go back to presentation. Let me run it on just the mid-price stocks. 1151 stocks. Let me run it and I'll continue with the presentation. Later on, I'll come back to the result and show how you can see the deepest level result. And if nothing is of interest, you may go back one level up at a time. That's what I meant earlier when I said, when you are running combo scans, try to put the least restrictive ones first and try to think logically what you are trying to achieve when ordering them. Spend 2 more seconds to order them before running the combo scans. Let's run it. It's running. I will come back to that. Here are some ideas for combo scans using patterns. And as I mentioned, you will develop your own favorites over time and see how I am combining different categories. You will usually have a pattern in mind, and those patterns are based on the indicator categories. So combine support resistance with reversal. That is a common practice. Support resistance with reversal. So one example is at trendline support with bullish reversal. So stock came to trendline support and then bullish reversal, sudden reversal. So at support resistance with reversal. I already explained different categories of indicators earlier. And in today's session, I also explained the scans of different categories. It's important to keep the categories in mind. You know the category from the name itself. When you know the categories, you know which ones you can combine to find stocks at support and then reversing. Q reversal bullish is only one bullish reversal. There are other bullish reversals. Trendline support is only one support category scan. There are other support category scan like watermark support for support. Reversal bullish could be traffic light reversal also, or that's momentum reversal, as well as kind of reversal. Momentum reversal is also reversal, pattern reversal is also. So you could look for watermark support with bull release. That will also be a support resistance with reversal combination. So I have created the examples with these patterns in mind and used Q scans to create combos. So other examples, combine extension category with reversal, like jump and thrust high, indecision at high. So you are looking for booking profit in long positions or hedge a position or shorting the top, or jump and thrust low and stretch release bullish. Again, a reversal scan with extension, reversal with extension. Usually you will have these patterns in mind when you create combos. Then combine extension with support. See how I am using different categories. Extension with reversal, then extension with support. Jump and thrust low with memory trend line support. So maybe it has not reversed yet, but it is at extreme low and now it is at trend line support. If you wanted, you could make it different interval scans at weekly memory trend line support, then jump and thrust low. You could do that as well. These are some examples. Usually you create combos using patterns, but sometimes you may use combos where you have pattern and setup together. Pattern and setup, not only patterns. These examples I showed you, they are combining patterns, but you may also combine patterns with trade setups, like at price extreme low and reversing, and then a long breakout, or beyond lower boundary and long headwind. These are combining patterns with setups. Not thought. Though the above examples combine two scans, you may create combo scans with more than two patterns or setups if you need that, like jump and thrust low, recovery is likely, then extreme pressure bullish, buyers came in heavily, maybe due to some news, and then a long breakout. So you are able to create combo scans with more than two patterns and or trade setups. Usually you will have only one trade setup in a combo scan and then one or more patterns. And here are some examples how the patterns help us to find trades. This is at trend line support weekly and long breakout daily. These are not having any stock name because I didn't want to focus on the stock. Can be in any country, any market. This is to show what kind of output we are looking for, what we have in mind. So when I'm running a combo scan, memory trend line support in weekly, breakout from daily memory trend line resistance, this is what I'm looking for. And the combo scans do an excellent job in finding combination patterns. So this stock will be of interest to many people. Now, if you watch the stock, then you know that if you ran the scan, weekly memory support and daily memory support, you could have identified it on this day itself. That would be weekly support as well as daily support. And on this day, it would have come in combo scan weekly support, daily resistance. So the more you study the individual pattern scans, you develop an idea what kind of combos you want to run depending on your trading style and run them over and over again. Both are useful. Weekly daily support or weekly support, daily resistance breakout. You develop your own favorite categories over time. I have many examples like this. I'll not run them in live market, but these examples will make it quite clear, I think, what kind of combos you may look for. This is combo scan memory trend line support. If no interval is mentioned, it is daily, and Q reversal bullish. So that is finding stocks at trend line support, and it is a reversal candle that is also seen from the reversal band indicator. So this may be also an attractive pattern. You will see how the combos give us attractive patterns to trade, combo patterns. Next, jump and thrust low, that is extension low with indecision at the low, kind of bullish reversal. So here we have jump and thrust low, both jump and thrust, both are at low level. Recovery is likely, and then it is showing indecision at the low. It will look for probably more than one indecisions. The scans will do that so that we find stocks that are more likely to go up. So this is a stock of interest, isn't it? We ran for stocks at extreme low extension and showing bullish indecision. It doesn't have any trade setup yet because we are still on an indecision candle. But when we see the output result, we also see it is at white direction line, very close to a daily trend line support, little bit away from the closing price, and we see multiple indecision coming in. It has already dropped a lot. If the fundamentals are strong, if we want to buy it anyway, one could short the put at the trend line support. Because it has dropped sharply suddenly, options will be very expensive. Instead of shorting at the money, we may short the trend line support, which is much more likely to hold. It's coming from far away. Probably the trend line support was there in weekly also. So we could short the put at the trend line support, or we could use the intraday chart to see next day if it is going up or not, and then take a trade without waiting for a proper trade setup. Or you could wait for proper trade setup. Of course, you could do that also. You could anticipate a trade, calculate your size, decide whether to trade with stock or option naked or option vertical or naked put. You could decide all that and get ready in anticipation. More patterns using combo scans. This is extension category, jump and thrust low. Oh, this one I already covered. Okay. Next. Jump and thrust low extension category with trend line support resistance category. So jump and thrust both at extreme low, recovery is likely, and then it is finding support in daily trend line. In this case, the daily trend line is coming from far away, so probably it was there in weekly also. In any case, it has come down sharply. Once again, if you wanted to buy the stock, fundamentally strong stock, maybe for position trading, maybe for longer term investment, you could see how it is moving next day, take a trade using fine-tuned chart, or you could even short the put at the trend line support if you are happy to buy the stock anyway. So these scans are also finding interesting stocks, and you are able to find extreme low extended stocks right at support. More example. Price extreme low and reversing, that is extension with breakout, that is breakout, support resistance. So resistance breakout and price extreme or pendulum low and reversing, you can see that from the band indicator, pendulum color changing from bright red to dark red. And we searched for at extreme low reversing and breakout. And we also see it has a bullish pressure. That's the exact combo scan we are running right now. In this case, I did not include bullish pressure in the scan. So it would have shown results like this, and also results where pressure was not there. You could run the three of them together like I'm doing now and order them properly so that if we don't have anything with bullish pressure, we may go back up one level to just find stocks at pendulum low reversing with breakout. It also happens to come to the watermark support and going up. Bull release one day ago. So you scan for a result and you will find when you look at the chart, more reasons probably to buy the stock or short the stock as the case may be. More at price extreme low and reversing and long breakout. Price extreme low and reversing and trend line breakout. This is also giving a nice pattern, and I scanned for extreme low reversing breakout, and then you see that it had a bullish headwind one day earlier. That day was still below trend line support. Sorry, not support. That day was still closing below trend line resistance. We wouldn't buy on that day. This day would be the perfect day to buy, and we can see bullish pressure came on the bullish headwind day. So the last day on the chart would be a perfect day to buy with very low risk. Perfect day to buy if you are happy to buy stocks like this. When we are searching from price extreme low and reversing, we expect the stock to be in a downtrend. If you are not willing to trade those stocks, then you will not run these scans. You will find other scans like I showed earlier. If you only want stocks above slow direction line, very slow direction line, you may run those scans first and then add other patterns to that. And if you are willing to buy stocks at low price, then you may look for low extension scans, combine that with breakout or reversal scans. Some pattern you have in mind and you are trying to implement that using combo scans. More. Beyond lower boundary and long headwind. Beautiful, isn't it? I searched for beyond lower boundary with a bullish headwind, and it came with also a trend line support near the low and further trend line supports nearby. It has dropped sharply. Once again, you could do multiple things. You could short the put here, short the put here, short the put here, or you could use intraday charts to take a long ahead of the breakout, or you could get ready with your instrument of choice, sizing, etc. Take the trade as it is breaking out using real-time charts, breaking out of trendline resistance, or you could wait for the breakout to be completed on a closing basis and then take the long. You could do all these different actions depending on your trading style. In any case, the combo scan found an interesting stock once again. More. Jump and thrust low, recovery likely. Q pressure extreme bullish and Q long breakout. This is a combo scan using 3 scans, 2 pattern scans, 1 trade setup scan. At jump and thrust low, we can see that from the band indicator. Number 2, Q pressure extreme bullish. Number 3, long breakout. Again, an interesting pattern. And it happens to also break out of the channel. We scan for some pattern and often you will find other reasons to buy. What other reason to buy is here? The biggest up move of 3 months at pendulum low. We didn't scan for it, but this is a very bullish pattern when it comes at pendulum low. 3-month big move up at pendulum low. Usually they almost always lead to further up move, and it is nicely breaking out of trendline resistance with bullish pressure as well. And there are other alternate momentum signals. So you scan for certain pattern in mind using combos, and you often will find more reasons to buy or short the stocks. Some comments on combo scans. There is no limit to how you may combine the different scan categories into combo scans. You may experiment and create a few combo scans you like and then use them regularly. Though you may create combo scans to anticipate trades, you may execute trades only based on the established Q trade setups. And I mentioned some exceptions. One exception is if you are anticipating a trade at the close and taking the trade in the morning session. That is one exception. You don't wait for the trade to be confirmed using a trade setup. And the other exception is if you are anticipating a long trade using weekly daily, but trading it using intraday interval, like 30-minute or 10-minute interval, for example. And very importantly, remember to use Q Finder and Q Sonar and see if your patterns can be more easily found from them before creating your combo scans. You have some patterns in mind, and if those can already be found using Finder or Sonar, then no point running combo scan on them. You already find them from Finder and Sonar. Very powerful tools, very exhausting also. But every combo scan cannot be implemented using Finder Sonar. So you may have some favorite combo scans for them. Another reason you may want to create combo scans is, as I mentioned, if you are focused on only certain kinds of trades. Like I know one trader I mentioned, he is only interested in stocks below lower boundary for buying. Then why use Finder? Just run the scan to find stocks below lower boundary first, and then you may run the Q long all scan on that. That will be more meaningful. So combo scans may be done. So combo scans may be run for cases where you don't have the ability to find patterns, combinations quickly using Finder Sonar, or when you are only interested in certain kind of trades. No need to run Finder or Sonar to find all kinds of trades, all kinds of signals. Just create combos that meet your requirement and use those combos. But if you are like me, comfortable with all kinds of trade setups, then you may use Finder Sonar more and use combos sometimes. Depends on your trading style, how you use Finder, Sonar, and combo scans, which one you use more. But over time, you will come to probably like some combos and run them regularly. I'll come back to the trading workflows. Let's look at the scan result first. We ran the result, we ran the combo scan, price extreme low and reversing, then output went to long breakout, then extreme pressure bullish. And you can see extreme pressure bullish, no result. You can see from the result column, no result. Today seems to be a bearish day. Long breakout also, no result. Only at extreme low reversing 6. This is what I meant when I told that it is useful to run the least restrictive ones first in a combo scan in waterfall model. So I didn't have any breakout with bullish pressure, but I have some stocks in extreme low and reversing. These are the stocks. Now let's go to the slide. How to use the scans in workflow. in bottom-up analysis, starting with technical scans. Then you use the scans in your workflow. Start with that. You run Qscan, you get the result, then you have different choices. If you want to check fundamental next, you go to vital. From there, you may go to edge for sector industry rotation, and lastly, look at charts. Or you could get the scan result, look at the chart first to see if you have a trade setup confirmed. If you have a trade setup confirmed, then only go to vital for fundamental checking, and finally go to edge for sector industry rotation checking. Which one do I do when? If the Qscan is giving me a large number of stocks, then usually I go to vital first to reduce the stocks I need to check. For example, if Qscans give me 200 stocks in output, then I don't want to go to the charts of those 200 stocks. I go to QVital first to find out the fundamentally strong or weak stocks. Then I may even go to QH to check industry strength weakness. If fundamental strength stocks are also many, I may check the sector industry weakness and then go to chart. On the other hand, if the scan result gives only handful of stocks, then I may look at their chart first before going to vital and edge. You may look for seasonality also somewhere in the middle. Though seasonality is not a key criteria for my trading, you are able to do that also as part of your workflow. So the scan that I ran just now, it didn't give me any trade setup, but we have 6 stocks we can see from the result column at price extreme low and reversing. This is a small list. So in that case, I could just open it. I can highlight all of them and open it. 6 is small enough number to open in one go. Or I could open one, highlight, double click, or highlight and click open chart. Move it to a different monitor, this window, or minimize, or you may even close it. Metastock remembers that we are opening a stock from the scan result, so it is okay to do any of them. Either move it to a different monitor, minimize it, or you may even close it. The 6 stocks are still remembered as the set that we are interested in. So this is the first stock. I may look at the stocks in daily first, or you may apply the template to look at it using the 3 chart template. If the list is small, I may do this. Look at it using weekly, daily 3 chart template. And this is an interesting stock, isn't it? Though it is not giving a trade setup today, it looks like a pharmacy stock, AERI. We searched for price extreme low and reversing. Pendulum color change is showing that price extreme low and reversing. It doesn't have any trend line breakout, doesn't have any bullish pressure. So we didn't have result from the deepest level. We went up and looked for stocks at pendulum low reversing. And we find now that it actually had a bullish headwind at the same level that created a watermark. It seems to be creating a false upside breakout, has another bullish headwind here, bullish indecision at the bottom, bull release today at jump and thrust low as well. Weekly has a nice trend line support, has a bullish headwind, multiple bullish indecision at the bottom. So this is a live example of how combo scans can help us identify stocks and get ready. Now see the workflow. I could keep this stock in my notebook. I have a sticky note. I may write this stock, or I could add the stock to a list, let's say buy list. So I added it to my buy list. If I am buying it today, that's fine. If I'm not buying it today, I could add it to the buy list in that way, or I could put it on a sticky note. I could use my Q diary to remember the stock and move on to the next stock. Remember, we had 6 stocks in the result. I could move on to the next stock by clicking next instrument, or I could use Alt right arrow. If not enough data is there, an error message comes. I click do not show the message again to look at the stock. This is less interesting. Just 1 second is telling me it is less interesting than the first one. So I'll not spend time in this. It is at price extreme low and reversing. Where is my drawing tool? But it has no pattern of interest for me to buy. So I will simply move on to the next stock, number 3. This is better than the second one, but not as good as the first one because it has many trendline resistances, both in daily and weekly. Also, trendline support is far away. Doesn't have the bullish headwind or headwinds that the other stock had. So it is less interesting. I'm not going to consider buying it now. Next one. It had a already very big gap up and coming down sharply also. No pattern of interest. Move on to next one. This is interesting. This stock doesn't have enough data. We can see in the weekly, the bars are showing in white color, not enough data. That's why that warning came several times. Here it is of interest because it had a bullish headwind in weekly, created a watermark, retesting the watermark, and the watermark is holding. And if I look back, it seems to be the lowest price since the IPO. That may be a good point to look for buy setup. That's the weekly chart. Bullish headwind, watermark holding near the IPO open price, it seems. In daily, has trendline support, watermark support, retesting that support. Today, the trendline support and watermark support both are holding with bullish indecision, bull release signal at price extreme low. So this may be of interest if it goes up. Seems to be a relatively new IPO. So let's save it in the list, add to custom list, buy list. We have 2 stocks there. Next. Here it is what Dr. Alexander Elder calls fallen angel. Has dropped a lot in the weekly. If I expand, the weekly has dropped a lot. The daily pattern is quite interesting, isn't it? It is at price extreme low. We have bullish pressure U-turn. Some alternate momentum signals, Mobo breakout and Kahuna. In fact, viable gap up, 2 of them. One came a few days ago on this day, and today also viable gap up, BGU. Stair stepping. One bar is red, but if the red bar didn't lead to price drop, price recovered, we have to say all these skyscrapers are overall bullish. Daily, in fact, is giving not only bullish flow here, but in the ribbon we see go with flow long setup. Weekly, in fact, is also meeting the go with flow long setup condition. So we found a trade setup also. Oh, this is VXX. Okay, it may not be a stock. Okay, let's avoid this. Some people may trade this also. VXS may not be a stock. I don't trade volatility based instruments, too complex for my mind. I like simplicity, stocks or options, not volatility on stocks. I don't trade that, but others trade that and they know how to trade it better. I'll not add it to my list. Next one, come back to the first one. Now I have 3 stocks in my list. I may close the charts. If you wanted to track those stocks, there are different ways. Buy list has 2 stocks, right? You may actually right click on the buy list. Okay, let me deselect everything, select buy list, right click and open list in Quote Center. If you have a number of stocks in mind and they don't have a setup yet, you are not yet buying, but you want to track them, how they are doing on a particular day, you may open them in Quote Center. That will show you the stocks, what is the last price, net change, percentage change. So it helps you keep the stocks on one of your monitor. Now, if you are using TradeStation also or QElite also, then you will probably not use Quote Center. You will put these stocks on Sonar or Radar. But if you are trading in non-USA markets, you may use QSonar, you remember that, but that is not possible to have real-time tracking. So for global stocks, if you want to see how the stocks are moving during the day, you may save them in a buy list like I did and open them in Quote Center. It's possible for USA market as well as any global market. Other columns you may add from the columns field. So I don't use it for the USA market, but for global markets like India, Singapore, where I trade sometimes, if I have a list of stocks I'm interested in, I may keep this Quote Center open to see how they are moving. Now let's look at their fundamentals to complete the workflow, AERI and LESL. In the latest version of Vital, we may enter either the ticker symbol or the RIC code. I entered the ticker symbol, so it's fetching the Refinitiv code first, RIC. Once it finds the RIC, it will gather more data from Refinitiv and calculate the scorecard. Okay, it seems I, for some reason, went offline. It's showing unable to retrieve only data. Metastock is in offline mode. And you see at the bottom, now it has turned red. Maybe I have some connection issues. That may be why Vital was slow. Okay, AERI, now it has retrieved the data. We are now completing the workflow, started with technicals, now looking at fundamentals. It's in pharmaceuticals industry. Okay, let me run QEdge also. I paused QH. Let me run that and go back to Q Vital. This is pharmaceutical stock, AERI. Valuation not good, earnings growth not good. Today, 78% of peer stocks are down. Today seems to be a bearish day. So this is not fundamentally strong. It has a short squeeze potential. You may read here what the company does. If it is pharmaceutical stock or biotech stock, we don't need strong fundamentals to buy it. Those stocks can go up on poor fundamentals as well. Because 77% of stocks are down, that will also not be a deciding factor. Pharma biotechs can go up on its own. Let's see the relative strength of pharma stocks. And we see relative strength is actually strong. It is among the top 20%. That is good enough for me to buy. Top 20%, bottom 20% will have this checkered background. On top of that, it is also among the top 20% accelerating industries. So relatively, the industry is not good. Sorry, relatively, the industry is doing very well, though majority of the peer stocks are down. That's fine. We also look at the relative strength. And if we want to see the detail move, we can see it from the graph. The relative score jumped both for primary industry, secondary industry, and we see the industry is still down, but relative strength jumped. So pharma stocks may do better if the market is coming down. They are considered more defensive stocks. So we completed the complete 360 degrees analysis for AERI. Let's do that for the other stock. I think it was LESL. And in this case, I know the ticker symbols, not ticker, the RIC code. So I am entering the suffix also, LESL.O. Specialty stores industry. Let's check the relative score while Vital is retrieving the data. Specialty stores relative score is very weak. So I'm probably not going to buy a stock like this. It is not a biotech pharma stock. When the industry is so weak, I'm not inclined to buy it. And I see it is also fundamentally not strong, overvalued, no earnings data. Funds are buying it. So sometimes you find something interesting, funds are buying it, short squeeze potential. The stock is actually up today on a very bearish day. So then you may investigate further what the company is doing using this description here, and further research can be done using Zenith or Icon. It's always of interest when you see on a bearish day, a stock is up and somehow funds are buying it. So that is how you complete the 360 degrees analysis. Now I wanted to show one more thing. Let's go back to the scan result. Last exploration result. Oh, sorry. We ran price extreme low reversing. When you see these three scans are selected, you may go to report, view reports for selected explorations, not all reports. So go to selected explorations, price extreme low reversing 6 results. Just now I showed you the workflow where after looking at the result, we looked at the charts first. if we didn't want that, and when would I not want that? If this list had hundreds of stocks, then I would right click and copy all, go to QVital and use this import from Explorer binocular button. I'm clicking that. You will see all the ticker symbols come here. I will do that if I have hundreds of stocks. Once it is updated, I will go to the stock list and look for fundamentally strong stocks. Then I may look at industry strength and finally look at charts. Now, if I ran Q Elite scans, I didn't run it today, but that's fine. I'm showing the integration. Suppose I ran a long breakouts. Okay, let's do short, though these are not run for today anyway, but today is Barry's day. Let's a short breakout, but these are not today's result. This was 13 October, long time ago. Why so? You can see why I don't run Q Elite scans so often, because they are not real time. I prefer to use Q Global scans, or I use Q Elite Sonar. But I'm explaining how to import the data once you run a Q Elite scan to get the data into Vital. And when will you want to get it in Vital first? Usually when the list has hundreds of stocks. You don't want to look at their charts one by one. So you just right click at the header, copy or Control C. You could do that, or you could drag and select the stocks only, right click, copy or Control C. Easier is just to click the header, because sometimes you'll have hundreds of stocks scrolling down. Just click the header, copy or Control C, go back to Vital, home, and now there is an import button, import from Sonar or QScan. Click that. Remember, TradeStation scans have ticker symbol. So when I import using the import from Sonar Smart Action button, here also we have that. It takes me to the symbol tab in Vital, and you see it has converted all the tickers into RIC code. Then click the peer analysis. It will take those RIC codes, and now it is retrieving data to carry out the fundamental analysis. Once it is updated, you may look at their fundamentals and find the bullish stocks from there. This is not result from today, so I'm not looking at the result. That is how you carry out different workflows. We covered all the topics today. Let's go back to the topics slide. We looked at the different uses of QScans, underlying platform and data, different for TradeStation and Metastock. Market country applicability, Q Global, applicable to all global markets, all countries. Q Elite, usually used only for the USA market. Convention, full capital scan name means it is trade setup, not full capital is pattern scan or trading universe scan. Input, nothing, it decides everything dynamically. Only inputs you may set once only probably is the parameters for deciding how liquid stocks you want and what range of stocks you want to trade. Also option liquidity. And if you are interested, you may also set the parameters for, oh, there is no parameter actually, different scans for different history period. Integration, the scan result can be integrated with Q Vital using Smart Action buttons, both for Q Elite and Q Global. Different scan categories, 3 categories. One is for creating trading universe list, one is for finding trade setups. Usually you run the trade setup scans individually. In Q Global, there is also a scan to look for all the trade setups in one go. I will actually go back to Q Global and run that scan. Let me do that. And I'll come back to the topic slide later. Let's go back to Q Global scans. Again, remember, I want to reset everything. Go to the topmost level, press spacebar. For symbols, go to the topmost levels, press spacebar. Let's look for short all setup. Let's say it is near market close. It isn't, but we are in a hurry. I don't want to run the finders. Today seems to be a bearish day. Is it so? Let's check that out. Yes, QQQ is bearish. So let's close that. Let's run the Q short all setup and let me run on liquid options, a smaller list. 362 stocks. Daily interval, only one is selected. So use the results from preceding exploration or use the selected instruments for all explorations. It doesn't matter because only one is selected. So I look here to make sure I have selected only the scans I want. I look at here to make sure the number is right for what I wanted to run it on. The interval is correct. Use filter should be always checked. Use current exchange rate time. So real-time scan and start the Explorer. And it is now finding only trade setups coming today. Remember, Finder shows not only trade setups and signals coming today, but coming yesterday, coming in the week, and then you do multi-dimension analysis. That is much more powerful. Shorts, long, all setup scans are for quick and dirty. Actually, not dirty, quick and very useful, I should say. Quick and very useful when you don't have time to run the full Finder scans. It will give only trade setups and only those coming today, any of the trade setups. So this is the result. Any column that has a 1, that has a trade setup. So breakout, so many, then pullback. If you click on the header and double click or click twice, it will sort by that column. So we have one pullback, some go with flow, etc., etc., etc. Now, what is the result? 90. So what will I do? Do I want to go through 90 stocks? You may do that, or you may right click, copy all. Remember, when there are many stocks to look at using charts, I usually go to Vital first, import from Explorer the 90 stocks, carry out their fundamental analysis first. So I reduce the stock list. Fundamentals are calculated. Go to their scorecard. Click at least 1 star red button. And some are already down a lot, 40% down. I may not be interested in that, but the others I may be interested to see. And I already have many stocks down that are fundamentally weak. So I didn't need to go through 90 stocks. Together, I had 90 symbols giving one or another or multiple trade setups, but I found 36 which are fundamentally weak. If I click 3 star, and I'm also looking at the percentage change today, the biggest down movers change to 5%. That is also good. So I have very, very weak stocks coming down. That's how you may reduce the list quickly using fundamentals. Maybe first 3 star or even crown jewel for long side. If none of them are of interest for shorting, then you may go to 1 star. If none of them are of interest, you may reset the filters altogether, go back to the entire list. But usually when the number of stocks from scan result is so large, like 90 or hundreds, usually you will find fundamentally stronger or weaker stocks depending on a trading direction. and shorten the list quickly. So I explained how to use the all setup scan. Very useful scan when you don't want to or don't have time to run Finder or don't want to open Finder. Back to the topic slide. So scan for trade setups usually done individually. Sometimes you may combine them with pattern scans. So you have pattern scans, trade setup scans, and then combo of usually patterns, but sometimes you may combine pattern with setups. We explained many examples how they could help us anticipate a trade and get ready. I explained different trading workflows. The more you use the Q scans, the more you will find them valuable. That is all about Q scans. Thanks for your patience. I know it took a while, but it was important to cover every detail in one video. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in our next masterclass. I'll announce the date time shortly. Have a great day and trade profitably now also with the Q scans. Thank you.